hide it, you know, just because of his personality, how he is.
Guys in particular are less vocal when their marriages aren't going well, when they're feeling depressed about anything. Guys tend to turn it inward more than women do, and Ed may be doing that.
Ed is angry, has a lot to be angry about. He's a single parent, basically. He's a sole provider, and he's not expressing this. He doesn't have an outlet. He's just busy distracting himself. And so it's making him emotionally flattened. It's destroying him.
Hey, great barbecue, buddy.
I knew something was wrong because Ed got very quiet and, you know, he was by himself a lot.
Well, I just knew it had something to do with Jackie because she wasn't there, her absence. I think it really bothered him and hurt him. I could see the sadness in his eyes.
As his anger simmers, Jackie leaves with the children for a couple of days to take care of her ailing mother.
Her Parkinson's was starting to get worse and worse and worse, and she had to have surgery, so my sister came up and took care of her. Because she didn't work, the rest of us did. She had freedom to do whatever she wanted.
Now Ed is the lonely one.
Ed said, I want some quality family time. He goes, Dad, can you stay for a while yet? And he goes, well, yeah.
Ed's father and stepmother drive down for a visit and find the house in a shambles.
What's going on? Where's your wife? I went, how could you treat such a beautiful home like this?
Days have turned to weeks with no sign of Jackie or the kids.
I said, so when's she coming back? He goes, well, her mom's surgery was postponed. And I said, oh, okay.
He'd call up there and she wasn't there. So he knew something was going on, I think.
Things just didn't add up right.
The kid's been out of school for over a month. How can she do that?
I don't know. I mean, the kids look.
And when we were coming home that night, I just told Ren, I said, something is not right. Something is just terribly, terribly, terribly wrong.
Ed, ever faithful, decides to stay and wait. Jackie never calls. But soon Ed will get a call, and it'll change his life.
And I said, what about the kids? What about Jackie and the kids? Are they okay?
I heard that scream, and that's something you never want to hear.
Ed and Jackie Postma's marriage is riddled with mistrust and suspicion. Jackie has left on an extended visit to see her ailing mother, or so she says. Ed suspects an affair. Still waiting for his wife to return, Ed is called out on a mysterious errand near Duet, Florida.
Duet is a remote, desolate area in northeast Manatee County. There's not a lot of traffic, there's not a lot of businesses, there's not a lot of people.
There's simply a convenience store slash gas station called the Oasis.
It's nearly midnight when Ed hits the road, and he drives into a nightmare. Early the next morning, a woman stops at the Oasis to change her baby's diaper. She stumbles onto something horrific.
It was particularly cold-blooded and gruesome.
Police are called to the scene.
They don't know what they have on their hands. Is it a random murder? Is it a robbery? Is it somebody that knows the person?
Police came to our house Monday morning and asked if we were the parents that had postponed. And they said, your son's been murdered.
Saw my mom and I heard that scream. And that's something you never want to hear.
And I said, murdered how? I said, was it road rage?
Ed Postman suffered 4 gunshot wounds.
In the temple, in the back of the head, the front of the head. And then there was a graze at the top of his head.
On top of that, Ed's throat was slashed twice.
If someone was looking at this murder, they would think that it was perpetrated by someone who was emotionally connected to Ed, someone who wanted him killed for emotional reasons.
It was done up close and personally, as if the killer wanted either to be seen and maybe recognized by Ed, or to look into Ed's face while they did it.
And I said, what about the kids? What about Jackie and the kids? Are they okay?
The police tell Carla that Jackie and the kids are safe at home, but Carla needs to see them just to be sure.
We didn't know what was going on. We had no idea why anybody would want to murder Ed. Sweet little guy that he was.
I couldn't imagine who would do that. I thought it had to be some kind of robbery or something, you know.
Detectives immediately start talking to everyone in Ed's family, starting with Jackie.
As a normal procedure, when a spouse is killed, you go to the other spouse. Did he have any enemies? What can you tell us about his lifestyle? What information can you possibly shed on this? She repeatedly said, I can't imagine what Ed was doing out there at that location at that hour.
Are you seeing anybody? You're having affairs? No, 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 no.
She denies having an affair and points a finger at someone very close to her husband, Sean McGlamory, Ed's stepbrother.
They used to fight a lot.
She just said that he and Ed had had problems over the years, and that there was some animus between them.
She was alluding to the police that we were in fist fights and rolling on the ground and all that. From what I understand, they never even thought it was serious. Him and I had never thrown a punch in anger, ever at each other.
Detectives interview the rest of Ed's entourage, but none of them seem to know anything about why Ed was in Duet that night.
Did I send Ed anywhere the night he got killed? I said, no, I didn't talk to him the whole weekend.
At that point, they didn't have any suspects initially.
A week after he's found at the Oasis gas station, Ed's family lays him to rest.
It was a nice funeral. They had a lot of people there, a lot of people, a lot of his friends, a lot of the drivers.
I don't think there was a dry eye in the house, you know.
Jackie is especially distraught.
During the funeral, you know, she cried and sobbed, and she held my hand the whole time. And
she was very sick. At the time, we didn't know why she was sick, but she was very sick, and she was very weepy.
A week after the funeral, Jackie announces that she's pregnant.
We felt very bad for her, knowing that she had a rough life ahead of her, being a widow with 2 children. And we were happy that she was pregnant. And we said, well, maybe it's the son that Ed always wanted of his own.
I remember the postmen were going over and mowing the lawn. They were helping her out. Everyone seemed to be, going over there, consoling her.
I'd say, have you been out of the house? No. Okay, let's go to the store. Just spend some time, get away from the house a little bit, get your mind off from things, because we were trying to comfort her as much as we could.
With another child on the way and desperate for money, Jackie asks Ed's boss about their $50,000 employee life insurance policy.
She called there just about every day, wanted to know how soon she could collect his insurance.
While the claim is being processed, the company sets up a fund to help the grieving widow.
Drivers used to come and put money in there, $20 bills, $100 bills, and truck drivers ain't rich people, or if they see somebody in trouble, they like to help out, and they're very good about it.
She went around 2 or 3 times a week and emptied out the jars.
Jackie takes to the streets and distributes ribbons in memory of Ed. Her message is clear.
She wouldn't rest until his murder was solved.
5 weeks after the murder, detectives call Jackie down to the station for another round of questioning. To her surprise, they've learned a thing or two since the murder.
Fairly early on in the investigation, it became known that Jackie was involved in an extramarital affair with Michael Cortez.
By now, Jackie's affair with Michael has been going on for about a year.
Mike was a lifelong criminal, you know, petty theft here, passing bad checks, stealing cars from girlfriends. Not exactly, you know, your model citizen.
When confronted by the evidence that the police already knew, and that at that point it was better tactically for her to acknowledge the obvious than to continue to deny it.
I guess.
After several grueling hours, Jackie finally admits to the affair. And that's not all.
Hello? What? Oh, slow down.
I'm broken down out here in Duet. I'm at the Oasis. And being the good husband that he was, unsuspectingly, he drove out there to help her.
No, I'll be right there.
Under further questioning, she actually admits that, yes, I sent them out there, but it was just to talk to Ed, to scare him, to let him know that I'm seeing Michael and that we're going to move forward in that direction.
Calm down. What are you doing up there? Okay.
Mike was supposed to tell Ed this and then beat him up to make sure that Ed got the message.
But when Ed arrives, Jackie is nowhere in sight.
Jackie!
Testimony was that instead, he's confronted by Michael Cortez with a gun pointed at him. At that point, he realizes what's going on.
Ed charged Cords, yelled, "You dumb son of a b," and went after him. That was Ed. I mean, if you wanted to fight, he was going to give it to you. No holds barred.
According to Jackie, Michael took their plan one step too far.
You don't have to do this.
And at that point, Michael Cortez shoots him 4 times in the head. He falls to the ground. She was traumatized by the death of her husband. She never planned for it, so she was distraught, and that's why she didn't fully cooperate with the police right away.
Finally, she comes clean enough to say that, well, you know, maybe she did intend for him to be hurt but not killed, and the guys took it too far. She never really takes responsibility for the role that she played in the fact that her husband is now deceased.
I think that she believes that if she tells a story and it's convincing enough, that they will believe her story and not dig any deeper and find out if there's more guilt there.
But the plot thickens. Jackie reveals that Michael had an accomplice, 30-year-old Todd Martin, whom Michael met while in prison.
You said we were just gonna scare him, man.
He brought Todd Martin along for backup because Ed's a strong guy.
Jackie tells the cops that Cordes asked Todd to finish the job.
He then says to Todd Martin, "I'm not sure he's dead. I need you to cut his jugglers," and hands him a fillet knife.
Do it!
He does as Cortez requests him to do. He cuts Ed Postma's throat.
Police arrest Cordes and Martin the same day that Jackie confesses. They're charged with Ed's murder and booked into the Manatee County Jail. With no evidence of her involvement in the murder, Jackie is free to go. But police urge her to come clean to the Postmas.
They said, "Jackie, it'd be better for you if you told them."
Hello? They were only supposed to beat him up.
I said, "What did he do that needed to be beat up over?"
Because
She claimed that he raped her and was abusive and things, and I don't know if she was trying to get sympathy. Violent and rape wasn't him.
She goes, "Oh, please don't hate me." And I hung up. That was the last time I spoke with her.
Jackie's plea for sympathy falls on deaf ears, especially when another witness comes forward, blowing the case wide open.
And that's when everything started unfolding.
Ed Postma is found brutally murdered, and while his wife Jackie confesses to luring him there, she claims that her lover was just meant to scare him, not kill him. But an accomplice to the crime is about to come forward to explain what really happened that fateful night.
I cut his throat, but he was already...
Todd Martin admits that he and Michael Cordes drove to Winter Haven to meet Jackie on the night of Ed's murder. The plan, according to Todd, was to have Ed beaten up.
Jackie told this story about how abusive Ed Postma supposedly was to her.
But when Ed arrived in Duet and Michael shot him, all bets were off. Todd explains why he was the one to cut Ed's jugular and finish him off.
He feared for his life. I'd fear for my life, too, if some, lifelong felon had just shot someone and told me to slit someone's neck.
But after the killing, Todd realizes he's been duped. He now believes that Michael Cordes and Jackie Postma planned to kill Ed from the very beginning.
Well, the testimony out of Todd Martin was that Michael Cordes wanted Todd Martin to have a hand in it and to have his hands dirty, so to speak, to be part of it.
Meanwhile, Michael Cordes continues to proclaim his innocence.
He acknowledged the affair. He acknowledged having gone to Winter Haven in his truck.
Yes, we went out there. I went out there with Todd Martin. I passed out in my truck. Whatever happened, Todd Martin did. And the only witness to contradict that was Todd Martin.
And Jackie? Her story is about to fall apart. Two of her friends contact the cops and say she came to them with a killer proposition.
She had tried to hire some other people to murder him. Instead of her and her boyfriend doing it themselves, they tried to hire someone.
Let's go to plan B.
But the would-be killers turn her down.
When the other people found out Ed was murdered, they went to the police and said, hey, this lady tried to hire us to have him murdered. And that's when everything started unfolding.
Police arrest Jackie. The charge, first-degree murder. The Postmas are shocked.
Never would I have thought that she had it in her to do that. Never in my wildest dreams would I have thought that she would have the coldness in her heart to have been murdered.
Jackie's motive is one of the oldest in the book.
There was a life insurance policy that she stood to benefit from. A divorce wouldn't do that for her. A death would, unfortunately.
Jackie's claims that she was abused by Ed are quickly dismissed.
We found nothing to substantiate those allegations.
She hadn't complained about it to anybody. She hadn't confided in anybody about it. There were no signs of it. There were no reports of it. It was totally contradicted by the evidence.
While in prison awaiting trial, Jackie gives birth to a baby boy. Her sister Lori takes custody of the baby, as well as the other children.
I got down there when he was 8 or 9 days old. We waited for the airline regulation of 15 days old they have to be, and I brought him home.
If DNA testing reveals the baby is Michael Cordes's, it gives Jackie an additional motive to want Ed out of the picture.
So that may have been another impetus to her to have her husband killed before he started seeing signs of a pregnancy.
She goes, in my heart, I know it's Ed's. I said, well, if you were with this guy, how do you know? How do you know for sure?
It was a coin toss. I could never tell which way or the other.
DNA tests prove that Jackie's baby is in fact Ed's, not Michael's. For the Postmas, the news is bittersweet.
He'll never be able to feel his hair, look in his eyes, feel his hands, and be able to tell him how much he loves him.
His son's never gonna know. That's really hard.
10 months after the murder, Todd Martin pleads guilty to being an accessory to murder. He gets 12 years in exchange for testifying against Jackie and Michael. Separate trials for Jackie and Michael begin later that July.
The police had a flurry of phone calls between her and Michael Cordes before the murder and immediately after the murder. Back and forth, back and forth, back and forth.
For Jackie, the most damning evidence is her ill-fated attempt to get two outsiders to do the job first.
The woman asked like 2 people like a couple weeks before to have the man killed. I mean, she's not winning awards for Criminal of the Year. At least, wait a while and don't ask friends.
Almost a year to the day after Ed's slaying, Jackie Postma is convicted of second-degree murder.
It carries with it a maximum of life in prison, and that's what she got.
I should hope she'd repent. I really do.
I think she's the most disgusting, vile thing on earth.
Because the gun was never found, the jury just can't prove Michael's guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. Cordes gets 7 years for violating his parole on an unrelated charge.
And we just sat there. I don't even remember the jury leaving. I don't remember the judge leaving. I don't remember Cord's family leaving. I don't remember anybody leaving. We were just sitting there.
Or a greater man would probably say they could live with it. I guess I'm not that great.
With Michael,